Pema is going to lead us into a Tonglen practice. Um, it's going to last 20 minutes, so we will not have a period of, well, I'm going to
There'll
give
be
us.
a short period of silence at the end, and then listen for our gong to lead us out, because she'll gong you into Tonglen, she'll gong you out of Tonglen, and then we'll leave it for a few minutes.
We will? Okay.
Okay.
Don't let it go to your head. It's pseudo control.
Okay, I think I have everybody muted. Let me try again. Mute all. So there are actually 3 teachings included in this, and I keep losing it, so I have to keep going back and finding it here.
They're pretty seamless, sugar.
I know, they are. 3 teachings. One of them, this first one, is called Sending and Taking with the Breath. And then there's a guided mindfulness meditation, and then the guided Tonglen session. All right. So, let's see if we can get this going.
Second stage, which is actually then diving right into the middle of the discomfort and the pain and the delight, but in a visual way. The eyes can be open or closed, and you breathe, and the practice is on the medium of the breath. One of the slogans, one of the Lojong slogans, actually gives Tonglen instruction. The slogan is, practice sending and taking on the medium of the breath. One should practice taking and sending on the medium of the breath. That's actually the Tonglen instruction. So in this case, one breathes in dark, heavy, and hot, and one takes it in through all the pores of one's body. Sense of breathing in completely, fully. And then, because as I've said, what that's doing is dissolving all the barriers that are around us, then one can breathe out on the out breath, light, cool, and refreshing, and you radiate that out 360 degrees. It just goes out all the pores of your body. So even though it's synchronized with the breath going in and out, it's actually more a full body breathing in and a full body breathing out. If you just do it on the breath, sometimes, people get stuck in their throat. There's like this little, this little thing. So you have a sense of breathing in completely, sending out completely, but it's synchronized with the in and out breath. So there's a lot of relaxation just in the fact that you're breathing in deeply, sending out deeply. So that's the second stage, and that is visual, breathing in. Now, some people don't like they don't experience claustrophobia because dark and heavy and hot. And people sometimes say they like to breathe in red and fiery, like that. And they send out maybe blue or whatever feels refreshing, turquoise. One man was telling me he always sends out turquoise with a lot of little stars in it. Well, whatever works for you. But the idea is breathing in the kind of atmosphere of claustrophobia. So sometimes for people that's heavy and dark, hot, sending out cool and refreshing. Now, as I say, the eyes can be open or closed, and it's very important that you give equal time to the in-breath and the out-breath. Most of us, when we start to do the practice, particularly as a formal practice of sitting, we find that we either have a preference for the in-breath or for the out-breath. So we get this kind of, or people feel like they can take on pain. Boy, they know pain, but they don't feel like they have anything to give. And so there's kind of imbalance. Or there's the, terrified of the pain, which is, I think, more like where I usually come from. So it's sort of like, and you want to, groove on the space. So the idea is equal time, You can breathe in deeply and breathe out deeply. Breathe in and breathe out, sort of equal time. with the idea that somehow you're ventilating the whole atmosphere, opening up the space. And in the process, you will find that in-breath is more frightening, out-breath is you're more attached to, or vice versa. And all of that is part of what's extremely helpful in terms of the Maitri practice of moving closer to yourself, knowing who you are and what you do, what you're afraid of and what you cling to. And then we move on to the third stage, which is to start to do Tonglen for a real situation, your own pain, and then for all others in the same boat as you. That's third stage, part 1 and 2. Or you start doing Tonglen for someone in the family, and then for all the people that are in the same situation as that family member. And also, when you start to get to the particular stage of Tonglen, sometimes you just stick with one person. That's what happens to you. And sometimes it just starts spreading, and it's one person after another, or one animal after another, or whatever, that it doesn't just stay with one person, and that's fine. So this is very personal. Whatever happens, you just work with that. And if you start to do the practice and you're saying to yourself, I can't do this, then you can do Tonglen for all the people who can't do this. And if you say, I don't like this is crazy, you can do Tonglen for all the people who don't like where they find themselves and want to get out of there. I'm afraid there's no way to escape from Tonglen. Wherever's happening, you can use that. People will sometimes say, if Tonglen on the spot is so much more to the point, then why do we do the formal practice of Tonglen? Really, the main reason is because if you do a formal practice of Tonglen, then it occurs to you to do it on the spot. And also because the formal practice of Tonglen, with or without the 4 stages, meaning with the 4 stages or just simply having a flash of openness and then moving into the breathing in and out for a particular situation, is very, very useful when you're sitting by the bedside of someone who's dying or sitting with someone who's very, very ill, that you can actually do Tonglen practice in those kind of difficult situations. And it's very, very helpful. When doing Tonglen as a formal practice, incorporated in your meditation, what is generally taught is that first you do mindfulness awareness, sitting practice, or other form of sitting meditation practice. And then having done that for a while so that you're some sense of settling, moving closer to yourself and being here, then you begin to do Tonglen practice. And at the end of the Tonglen, again, you return to the sitting practice of the mindfulness awareness sitting practice. So it is sandwiched with the mindfulness awareness sitting meditation practice. We'll start this morning with a very, very short period of sitting, just a few moments, and then go right into the Tonglen. I'll hit the gong twice. And as I was suggesting, if you listen to the sound of the gong going out into the space, that's a very useful way of opening the mind, resting the mind, a moment of stillness or openness. In any case, whether you are able to rest the mind in a moment of stillness or not, continue right on into the next stage. I've had any number of people say, well, I couldn't do the first stage, so I just gave up and didn't bother to go any further. So it's, sort of gesture, and in any case, it's very brief, and then move on to the second stage of breathing in and out, the quality of claustrophobia and inspiration, spaciousness. So we'll begin with a short period of sitting. Sit as comfortably as you can on a meditation cushion or in a chair. Keep your eyes open, but let the eye gaze be downward about 4 to 6 feet in front of you, which is to say that you're not looking down, close down, but out a little bit. So there's something open about the eye gaze, but it's down enough so that you're not distracted. And in particular, feel the front of your body is open. The heart area, the whole front of the body is open. So in that way, you sit up as comfortably, but as upright as you can. Good posture. So if you feel yourself slumping at any time, that might feel like covering over the heart. Slumping could feel like covering over the heart in some way. So then you just open up again, lift up so that the heart area is open again. In that way, the posture is symbolic of open heart. And it's symbolic of courage, also bravery, willing to be here fully with an open heart. And then I think it's very helpful to, in order to become grounded here in your body, to just become aware of your body, starting with the soles of your feet. Just move very slowly from the soles of your feet, up your legs, up your torso, slowly moving upward to the top of the head. And particularly noticing any areas where there's tension. And if there's tension, particularly pausing at that place and relaxing that tension as much as you can, noticing it and relaxing it, then moving on upward to the top of the head. Just grounding yourself in your body. When you reach the top of your head, then just slowly again move down the body. And this is not thinking about the body, but actually feeling your face, feeling your neck, your shoulders, down the torso, the arms and hands, slowly moving down until you reach the bottom of your feet. Actually feeling your body. And do this at your own pace, but when you do arrive again at the soles of your feet, then shift your awareness to your breath. Begin to be aware of your breath going outward. And then there's a pause as your breath comes in, and then aware of your breath going out. Mindfulness and awareness of the breath going out. Just coming back again and again to the breath going out. Breath goes out into space. Feel the breath going out into space. And just a kind of waiting, a gap, and then the breath goes out again. Just coming back again and again to the breath going out. Thoughts will come up in your mind when you realize that your attention has wandered and you're talking to yourself. Very simply, with a tremendous gentleness, no big deal quality, just come back again to the awareness, feeling the breath going outward. When you realize that your mind has wandered off, you can say to yourself, thinking. This is not saying that it's wrong or right, it's just acknowledging that thinking is occurring, and then come back again to this feeling the breath going out, awareness of the breath going out. Now beginning with a moment of stillness or the flash of the absolute bodhicitta. Then move into the next stage, breathing in the heavy and hot, sending out cool, light, and refreshing. The eyes can be open or closed. Do this synchronized with the breath. The dark coming in, the cool and refreshing going out. Heavy, thick quality coming in completely. Brilliant light, fresh quality, radiating it out, sending it out in all directions completely. And when you feel ready, when you feel this is synchronized on the breath, then move on to doing Tonglen for a family member. And then as soon as possible, universalizing, doing it for all the people in that family member's situation, or for all the people feeling what you're feeling. Doing Tonglen with a family member, either what they trigger off in you, or just doing it straightforwardly for them. Sometimes it helps to bring up the face or say the name of the person that you are working with. Remember to always move from the particular to the universal, using whatever you're working with as a stepping stone for understanding the broader suffering that is just like what you're feeling or what a family member is feeling. And when you hear this gong, you gradually move back to doing mindfulness awareness practice.
Okay. So the definition of spiritual health that I like best, and it's not mine, it's Pema's in the same tradition, is that spiritual health is your capacity to meaningfully integrate pain. Okay? Say that again. Your spiritual health is your capacity to meaningfully integrate pain. It's not the absence of pain. So, for most of us, tying this in with polyvagal theory, when we're in a good state and we're ventral and we're feeling expansive and we get hurt, we collapse. Okay, we withdraw and we move towards either sympathetic, which is the fight or flight response, or we totally withdraw and feel like a guilty child who's going to be punished and abandoned, uh, and just begin to apologize for breathing other people's air. So, what we're developing is a capacity to get back to ventral as quickly as possible. You can't avoid closing. Your nervous system is going to do that before your head is involved. Okay. That happens. We can sit and watch it, and your body goes, and then it hits your cerebral cortex, your prefrontal cortex. So stop feeling guilty about what you feel or how you respond. That's all your body's conditioning. But once you're aware that I'm struggling, okay, that I'm fighting with life, then come back to safety as quickly as possible. So the key word in polyvagal is something that spiritual traditions have all known. First, you have to feel safe. That's why we go on retreats to a sanctuary where there are walls up against the outside world. It doesn't intrude. I can go inward, I can relax, I can drop the defenses and begin to experience what it's like to be vulnerable and open. So now, once we've established that in our practice, we begin to experiment in this very controlled environment of my seat, bringing that suffering in and learning to stay open when I bring it in. So, this claustrophobic feeling she talks about, remember, this is hell, this is heaven. Now we're experimenting with that. I'm very voluntarily bringing that closed feeling into my meditation and learning to relax around it, to soften around it, to realize nothing bad is going to happen. I'm sitting here in a safe place. I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. Okay. So I got, and I've started chanting that to myself a little bit when I'm running real negative thoughts. I'm driving my car stuff and I feel that clenching the wheel and tightening against the world. I just go soften, soften, safe, safe. You're safe. You're safe. How many times a day does your monkey mind generate that feeling that something bad is about to happen? And if you allow that to go on untended, you end up with a tight, rigid body. So why don't you counter that intentionally with safe, soften, safe. You're safe right now. Don't talk, but I can't control what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. But right now, I'm safe. Right now, I'm safe. So we're practicing experimenting with keeping this tensed up, breathing it in, voluntarily taking it on, being stretched by it, softened by it, and then letting it go, expanding. So this is the same thing we do in yoga. You breathe into the tightness in your hips, breathe into the tightness in your lower back. You create space. Then you relax into the space you just created. You breathe in, let the breath stretch down. Now we're applying it to our relationship with life. So I breathe that spaciousness, I breathe that joy, I breathe that light, however you visualize it.
Freedom, bliss.
Freedom, breath. Okay. Now you can also tie this into your loving kindness meditation. So I cut through the crap and just go, may you be free of suffering. And when I say you, I mean the suffering part of me, which I think is separate from my witness consciousness. And I mean all of life. May you be free of suffering. And then when I breathe out, I go, may you be at peace. Take in the suffering, breathe out the peace. So you can direct it at
Or
specific
you,
people.
a family member,
A family member.
breathe in their suffering.
Okay. Now, people doubt the efficacy of this kind of work, but there have been studies on what they call distance healing. One of the most famous was where a group in the South was sending healing to people in Chicago in a hospital who had a certain type of surgery. One group got prayed for, the other group didn't get prayed for. Nobody knew they were being prayed for or not prayed for. The people didn't know who they were praying for. They just sent that energy and that intention out to light. The people who got prayed for healed 50% quicker than the people who didn't. They had no idea what was happening. Okay. They found, however, that one negative person in the room who didn't believe in it could skew the results for everybody else. It really is important when you ground yourself in these kinds of things for it to be efficacious, is to be grounded in nature, be in a place where there are not people who bring that in. That's the one place where I hear people say avoid negative people, but there are times when that energy can interfere with what you're doing, because these are very subtle energies we're working with. So breathing in, breathing out, healing. You hear me say, I'm summoning you love, light, peace. You know, it means I'm sending that. Coming at you, baby. Open up your receiver. Here it comes. So bringing it in, easing people's pain, sending out peace, love, joy, whatever it is that you intend for them, so that you're a channel. It's from life through you back out to life. You're completing a cycle, just like completing the breath. Drawing it in, pass it through you, you transform it, send it back out a little cleaner, like your kidneys do, like your lungs do. Okay, you got that image, pure, send it back out, take in the stuff that's got the toxins, clarify it, put it back out. So this is extremely powerful teaching, and it's part of what keeps us from becoming self-centered. Suffering, I just was working, this is the month of 7th step, humbly asking God to remove our defects character. And God, you go, would you please, God, remove my defects character? And God's going to say, no. And it's like, fuck you, asshole. Then why did I just go through getting ready to do this? You got to be ready to let them go, but I want you to keep them, because the suffering of your character defects keeps you humble, and it opens you to the suffering of other people. It's got to exist. No nirvana without samsara.
Which was sort of the
theme of Dorothy's
the
movie.
theme of
It's
the
the theme
film.
of Buddhism. Yeah, kind of the theme of Buddhism. So suffering is not what's wrong. It's how do you relate to suffering? Are you at war with suffering? Or do you accept it as an inevitable part of living and learn skillful ways to respond to it? Let it soften you. Let it teach you humility. Let it connect you with other people. It's not what's different about us. I'm not a miserable individual case who's failing at life. That's what everybody you're looking at on the screen feels at some point. It's what connects us. Okay, so anyhow, what y'all got?